Know the top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. More than 200,000 nurses in the country are now unemployed, according to a group of Filipino nurses. They are now appealing to the government to lift deployment ban on healthcare workers, including nurses. But presidential spokesperson revealed that the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases will be tackling the deployment issue. Archil Heducos gives us details.
Nurses in the country have appealed to the government to lift the deployment ban on nurses since many of them remain unemployed. Filipino Nurses United President Maristela Abenojar said they are making an appeal to revoke a resolution of the Governing Board of Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, chaired by Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III, which imposes a total ban in the deployment of healthcare workers, including nurses. Abenojar said there are currently 200 to 240,000 unemployed nurses around the country. Many of them who have sought work abroad heeded the call of the Department of Health to work in hospitals to fill in around 10,000 slots for nurses. Unfortunately, those slots were eventually filled up, rendering a good number of them jobless during the entire pandemic. But in today's Palace press briefing, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque revealed that the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases will be tackling the deployment issue, particularly of Filipino nurses.
Inaanunsyo ko rin po na mamayang hapon sa IATF, pag-uusapan po muli itong ban nito at ang i-resolve po ay kung meron bang exemption or wala. Dahil doon sa PUA resolution na kinote ng IATF resolution, merong exemption, yung mga na-process na ang mga papeles, at ito po yung pag-uusapan namin hapon.
Meantime, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergera is making an appeal to all nurses to consider serving the country during the pandemic.
Doon po sa ating plano po sa bayanihan, makikita po dyan sa section na yan na pati po private healthcare workers ay bibigyan na po ng benepisyo galing po sa ating national government. And even yung mga hazard pay, yung mga special risk allowance, kasama na po dyan sa ating binalangkas dyan po sa sinubmit natin sa ating BICAM, no? So sana po, ako rin po, katulad ni Secretary Harry Roque, nakikiusap po kami sa ating mga healthcare workers. So sana yung nationalism natin ay manaig sa panahon ngayon na meron tayong pandemya para makatulong po tayo sa gobyerno.
For MB Now, this is Archil Heducos reporting.
The Department of Health on Wednesday said rapid antibody-based test kits should not be used for diagnosis of COVID-19. In a statement, DOH said antibody tests have low sensitive and high false negative test rates and uncertainties to its connection to immunity. Antibody tests should likewise not be used for screening, return to work decisions, entry to country or province policies, according to the DOH. DOH said the gold standard for confirmatory test of COVID-19 remains to be the RT-PCR or reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. Citing recommendation from the World Health Organization, the DOH said the antibody tests should only be used for research settings, including for clinical decision-making, until evidence supporting use for specific indications are available. Go Negosyo founder and presidential advisor for entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion, believes the country needs to start coexisting with the virus before it is able to totally defeat it. With no available cure or vaccine available on the market at the moment, Concepcion called for a more surgical and localized approach to lockdown that focuses on barangays or local clusters with high infection rates. At the same time, Concepcion sees a need to make the rest of the country or the area to operate normally. Concepcion stressed that the recent 2-week lockdown period gave local government units more time to prepare for a more granular lockdown approach. Recently, Concepcion announced the arrival of extraction machines and testing kits from Chengdu and Shanghai, China, which will be used in the implementation of the Go Negosyo Pooled Testing Initiative. The equipment and supplies are expected to test 100,000 public market vendors and drivers, as well as employees and owners of SMEs and LSIs.
Dalawa lang ang pag-isipan natin sa buong strategy on how to coexist with the virus. No? New ways of testing and database localized lockdown, no? Granularized lockdown. If we are able to do that perfectly, syempre sa testing sunod-sunod lahat and tracing, isolating, etc., then I think we will be able to coexist with the virus and eventually beat the virus habang wala pang cure sa itong virus.
Starting October 2021, drivers can now apply for a license that will be valid for 10 years. According to Land Transportation Office Assistant Secretary Edgar Galvante, the 10-year extension of license validity will serve as an incentive for drivers to strictly follow traffic rules and regulations. The demerit system was implemented by the LTO in 2019 as part of the implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act No. 10930 signed by President Duterte in 2017, which extended the validity of driver's licenses. The system has been determining traffic infractions of drivers and is being used by the agency as a basis in giving out driving licenses.
Yung pagpapalawig ng ating lisensya hanggang 10 years, mangyayari ito sa starting October 2021. But hindi lahat ng driver's license possessor makakapag-enjoy nitong 10-year validity ng license kung siya ay merong demerit point, no? Kaya isang incentive ito sa mga sumusunod sa batas trapiko, walang mga violation. Pag renew niya ng lisensya niya starting October 2021, mabibigyan na siya ng 10-year valid license. Hopefully, with this measure, mabawas-bawasan yung mga road crashes, road traffic accidents na kung saan nagko-cause ng mga injuries at even pagkamatay.
Have you ever tried answering the Self-Diagnosing Anxiety and Depression Assessment tool, which recently went viral on social media? Well, better listen to this. According to University of Santo Tomas psychology professor and mental health PH Learning and Development head JB Bacauco, it is harmful. Bacauco told Manila Bulletin that psychological tests are helpful if used properly and conducted under the supervision of a psychologist or a psychometrician, and the results are interpreted by a psychologist. He also said it is difficult to make a diagnosis based on a single test alone, and a holistic approach must be considered in trying to make a diagnosis and in making sense of someone's mental health. Self-diagnosis may hinder individuals from getting the appropriate psychological intervention and necessary treatment. Advocacy group Mental Health PH likewise cautioned social media users against accepting the results of such online tests and urged those who are experiencing distress to seek professional help. The group said there are centers offering free online psychological services and online telecounseling, such as the National Center for Mental Health and the Philippine Red Cross. In Metro News, Mayor Isko allows 24/7 operation of take-out food delivery services in Manila under GCQ. Quezon City issues new guidelines for GCQ. And San Juan opens new testing facility. More in this report.
Manila City Mayor Francisco Isko Morena Dumagoso has allowed the takeout and delivery services of all food establishments in the nation's capital to operate 24/7 to protect the livelihood of food industry workers under the City Executive Order No. 35, signed Wednesday night. Dumagoso said this is the city's government's only little way to protect the jobs of Manileños and to help businesses operate and survive the COVID-19 pandemic. He added that the City of Manila sees the need to slowly open the economy in the city, particularly in the food and restaurant restaurant industry and to balance this with a demand from the general public which may serve as a stimulus of economic growth. Under GCQ, the mayor said all food establishments are allowed to operate at 30% venue capacity, provided that they strictly adhere to minimum public health standards at all times as set by the government, such as but not limited to social distancing protocols. Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte has issued a 12-page memorandum containing general community quarantine guidelines that covers safety hours, transportation, businesses allowed, and the mandatory reporting of symptomatic persons and suspected or confirmed cases of COVID-19. To the extent feasible, each barangay should have its own quarantine facilities for isolation of confirmed and suspected COVID-19 cases. The concerned barangay or area should report the establishment of such a facility to the City Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit for coordination, according to the memorandum. Belmonte said the city government may sanction any establishment that conceals suspected or confirmed COVID-19 cases or hinders the city's COVID-19 response teams or contact tracers in the performance of their duties. The San Juan city government has chosen the San Juan Gym as new testing facility in lieu of the mega swabbing facility in Palacio de Manila. This is to bring the testing facility closer to the people for faster and better access. Zamora inspected the new facility where 500 frontliners, close contacts of COVID-19 positive patients, and residents experiencing COVID-19 symptoms were tested. The mayor said this is on top of the community testing that the city health office conducts at an average of 120 per day. The mayor said those who will test positive will immediately be isolated and undergo a thorough investigation by the city's newly trained contact tracers. Meanwhile, Mayor Zamora has announced the liquor ban and stricter curfew hours will be enforced in the city under GCQ.
And here are the top news in other parts of the country. 90 families under special concern lockdown in Quezon Town. Eastern Visayas now battling more infectious second wave of COVID-19 according to the DOH. And two Lanao Norte clans agreed to settle their feud. More in this report.
90 families from 4 villages in Real, Quezon were placed under special concern lockdown after a confirmed coronavirus disease positive patient was reported. The lockdown families came from Poblacion 61, Purok Nara, Barangay Ungos in Purok Mangda, Barangay Kawayan in Purok Tayumanak, Purok Matinik, and Barangay Liapak in Purok 2. They will be monitored by the Barangay Health Emergency Response Team, Rural Health Unit, and the Municipal Health Office. They also underwent swab testing. The LGU will assist the families for 5 days or until the results of their swab tests are released. The Department of Health has bared that coronavirus disease in Eastern Visayas is more infectious now that the region is on its second wave of cases. According to DOH Regional Director Dr. Minerva Molon, the significant increase in the number of COVID-19 cases is due to the arrival of locally stranded individuals and local transmission of health workers. At least 168 health workers in the region have been infected by the deadly virus, 53 of which are active. The region has a total of 1,763 cases with 1,177 recoveries, 577 active cases, and 7 deaths as of this morning. The provincial government of Lanao del Norte facilitated the settlement of the dispute between the Mangondawis and Manamparan family from the municipality of Nunungan. The two clans agreed to put an end to their misunderstanding by signing the Covenant of Peace and Reconciliation on August 19 at the Mindanao Civic Center Gymnasium in the town of Tubo. Their Rido or clan war started 4 years ago. Lanao del Norte Governor Imelda Anguing Quebranza Dimaporo hopes the Rido settlement will bring development to Nunungan town. She also shared that an international company is interested in doing business in the town, which can bring employment opportunities to the residents.
In world news, thousands evacuated as wildfires spread in California. The Pope calls for social justice and vaccines for all. And a Vietnamese artist making tiny food for a living. Let's watch this.
Thousands of residents fled a city in Northern California on Wednesday as a series of fast-moving wildfires spread across the state, burning dozens of homes and structures. The fire outside Vacaville, a city of about 100,000 residents located between the state capital Sacramento and San Francisco, is part of a series of blazes that have scorched nearly 20,200 in the region in recent days. Some residents of Vacaville heeded the evacuation orders dressed only in their pajamas, as the flames surged across roadways and gas lines exploded at several residences. According to fire departments in nearby states, including Nevada, Arizona, and Texas, were sending reinforcements to help fight the wildfires. The coronavirus pandemic is exacerbating inequalities between rich and poor, according to Pope Francis. The Pope is calling for universal vaccines not reserved just for the wealthiest. As the virus continues to claim lives and wreak havoc on economies around the world, the Pope in recent months has tried to use all his moral force to demand a new post-pandemic society, more respectful for the poor and the environment. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has called for widespread access. Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said on Tuesday that governments must prevent vaccine nationalism. Squinting and concentration. Vietnamese artist Nguyen Thi Hanh drops a bright red chili into a bowl of pho barely bigger than a coin, the finishing touch to a miniature model that's eaten up days of her time. The 28-year-old architecture graduate began crafting food miniatures a year ago, spotting a chance to capitalize on the world's growing love of Vietnamese cuisine. 90% clay and 10% liquid plastic. The models can take up to 5 days each to make, and Anne sells them up to $80. She also plans to expand the business to beverages, including Vietnamese coffee and beer, as they are served at the traditional open-air Bia Hoi bar. And although she has given up a potentially more stable career in architecture to pursue this niche craft, she believes she made the right choice.
In entertainment, singer Katy Perry has nothing but praises for her creative Filipino fans. The pregnant Perry was referring to Mayan Velasco, who made a creative background for the popular singer during a Zoom session with her fans from around the world. She has been fortunate enough to have personally met Perry twice. Last August 12, Mayan was again fortunate to be chosen among KP fans for the Zoom event.
And it was made by them, this background. I don't know the name of the young lady that made it, but I know she's a Filipino kitty cat. So shout out to the Filipino kitty cats for being creative. I love all the art. This is so amazing.
After months of hearings led by the House of Representatives Committee on Labor, the Eddie Garcia bill has been finally approved in the subcommittee level. The bill is for the creation of occupational and safety standards and welfare for the film, television, and radio entertainment industry following the accident that happened to Eddie Garcia during one of his tapings that resulted to his death at 90 years old. Garcia's stepson, one Pacman party list Representative Mikey Romero, thanked the lower house for the passage of the bill, and he said that the creative industries would benefit from the measure when it is finally enacted. The passage of the bill comes at a time when the entertainment industry are adopting to new normal of safety measures at work in order to arrest the spread of the coronavirus disease. And in sports, Indian freestyle wrestler Arjan Bullier has locked on his target in one mixed martial arts heavyweight champion Brandon Vera. Despite once high-profile signings in the heavyweight division, including Iranian Greco-Roman wrestling world champion Amir Al-Yakbari and grappling greats Tom DeBlas and Marcus Buchecha Almeida, Bullier has vowed to end Vera's reign in the heavyweight. Bullier's bout against Vera has yet to be finalized by the two are expected to face in the circle later this year or early 2021. Should he successfully achieve his goal, Bullier, who represented Canada in the World Championships, Commonwealth Games, Pan American Games, and the Summer Olympics, is ready to take on other heavyweights. And those are the news on Web today, August 20, 2020. For more news and information and details, get your copy of the Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. You may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to to have the day's latest news delivered to your own inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin, celebrating its 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.